somebody being genuine. They're not used to somebody giving their whole entire heart. They're not used to somebody wanting. A lot of times where it seems that I'm in a completely different reality than they're in. Meaning, a lot of times they try to say, you said this, you said that, you know, things that I have said to them. And I'm thinking, no, that's not what I said. Why are you perceiving what I said so incorrectly? And I think it's because people are not used to the real deal. They're not used to somebody being genuine. They're not used to somebody giving their whole entire heart. They're not used to somebody wanting to communicate properly and saying what they actually feel, being transparent and asking questions so that they can find the other person's truth. For example, say I say to somebody, say that I was dating somebody and they suddenly started to tell me they didn't want a relationship anymore, or they started to ghost me or whatever it is. And I tell them, it seems that you're running away with your tail between your legs, ? It seems to me maybe you're scared of something real, ? Maybe your ego was hurt when I didn't want to kiss you yesterday, ? And those three things would be turned around as I said to them, you have a huge ego and you can't handle anything real and anything good, and you're running away with your tail between your legs because you're just a wimp, or you're just, something. They assume that I tell them something bad, but it's actually a question, if you know what I'm saying. And it's because I'm trying to really communicate real and simulate the situation and find out what it is, find out what they really feel. And telling them that, or asking them that question, I'm telling them, hey, this is what maybe my ego is thinking about you, and I'm asking you, is this true? I'm not saying this is who you are or what you are. I'm just asking you, is it true about you? Because I don't know if what my perceptions are correct. I don't assume that right away if I think something or assume something about somebody that's right. So then I ask them, is that right? And right away they take that as an insult. It's not a question, it's me attacking them. You see what I'm saying? And that is a person, and I see it for what it is now. And I would cry, literally cry, or I'd be so confused and thinking, what did I do wrong? And I'd put it all on me, because people like that are good at, then they twist it and say you're insulting them, and you're coming at them for no reason, and you're this horrible person, right? And you're like, I was just questioning, because I want to know the truth. Like, I don't know if I'm right. And I'm just being honest with you, because that's what I really, what popped in my head. Doesn't mean it's right. So this is the difference between multi-dimensional thinking and linear thinking. This is the difference between third dimensional thinking, if you will, versus fifth dimensional thinking. That's the difference between the two dimensions. And I've always been really curious about dimensions and stuff like that, but never really understood it fully. And now I'm seeing it for what it is. After I have been through all of the scenarios in every which way, now I'm seeing it in a multi-dimensional way. So I'm seeing multi-dimensionality in a multi-dimensional way. I'm seeing 5D for what it really is, because I'm becoming a thinker of 5D. I think more openly. I rise above the situation, if you will, if you're picturing it. I rise above the situation and I look down at every little possible event about it, and I question those events, and then I come up with an answer. And I understand that my brain has two different functions and two different ways of perceiving things, and that my brain could still be in fight or flight about that situation. So I question it, because I might not be right. And then if I'm not right, I say, okay, I was wrong. Let's change it. Let's grow, learn, and evolve together and move on from it. It doesn't have to turn into what it does. And I always put the blame on myself, but that was me in 4D, reflecting what they are back on me. I was in 4D for a long time, confused about who I am and why it is that when I'm starting to become 5D, 4D is like you're flipping back and forth, from one to the next. You fall back to third dimensional, but then you're mostly in 5D, at that point, but you're questioning yourself. Why is it that I am feeling this way? And you're believing what the other person says, so you're like getting yourself stuck in between. And so that's a example for you if you are somebody who is like revolving in this 4D paradigm where you're not sure. Trust yourself, because if you can say out loud and to yourself, I know for a fact that I am a kind, genuine being who just wants literally the best for everyone, and who is in a point in my life like where the child becomes a questioner. I'm just questioning things, and I'm trying to learn a new way, and it seems like people are always trying to push against me. Especially when I rise up, it seems like there's this push. I'm like going against the grain, or against the flow. But that's it. When you can realize, okay, that's what it is. I questioned that person. I said, are you running away with your tail between your legs? It seems like your ego might be getting in the way, question mark. These things that you asked, that you asked with good intentions. And that's the word, period. I'm trying to think of all these words that I could say about this. Kindness, genuineness, whatever it is. But that is it right there. What are your intentions? You are the only one that knows what your intentions are. And if you can say to yourself, my intentions are always in the right place. My intentions are always for the better of all. That means you're in a 5-dimensional way of thinking now. And that should just come to you naturally if you are in the 5D. Now, I'm not saying it should just naturally come to everybody and that the way I am is the way it should be. No, that's not it, because there's people that can't get it yet, and they shouldn't be. So that person, if they're not understanding you, and they're putting you down, especially, and they're kind of saying that you're putting them down, right? That is something that that is always going to push-pull against you. And if you don't want that push-pull, just be okay with what you said, be okay with yourself, and just flow away, gently. Gently just flow away. Cry for a second if you might, feel for a second if you will, but ultimately you've got to drop that one back in the ocean. That fish needs to go back in the sea, and he needs to work on some things and gently let him flow away, because it's the best for both of you. Because you are always going to be trying to rise, and he is always going to be seeing that as a threat, almost. Because one thing about the 4th and 3rd, they're about competition. And when competition is not your way anymore, you will know you're in the 5D. So, just a little conversation between you. I really want to get real with you guys, and keep on making videos for you, because I think it's important for real people to show what they're feeling and what they're experiencing, not to teach, not even really to guide, but to have a hand held out and say, look, I am just like you. I see exactly what you're seeing, and what you're seeing is a higher way. Some people just need to be told that, because this world puts you down hard when you're feeling good about yourself. When you're rising up into the 5th, the 3rd will try everything they can to pull you down. It's just, but you got to see this as it is. It is just the way of it. Them being like that, you being like this, it's just the way of it, and there's nothing you can do to change it. And you may put what you feel out there till you're blue in the face, and they'll still come back with insults or whatever it may be. That's when it's time to just cut that conversation completely, and stay true to yourself, and trying to convince people that you're right. I always heard this saying, and it helped me through a lot of things, but I would much rather be happy than right. I would much rather be in a happy frame of mind than prove to somebody that I'm right. It's like, I'm right, but I'm miserable. Well, no. Oh, I'm right. I know that I am. He might not, but that's okay. I'm right for me, I should say, and he's right for him. And then you gotta just kind of allow that to flow away, because the more you push, sometimes the more you help, and that's another conversation for another day, is helping, because I've been there too. The more you help, the more you're hurting somebody. And the best thing you could do is just let them do what they wish, do what they will, because whatever they feel they need to do is honestly what they need to do at this point. Even if it's falling and crashing and burning, and even if it's struggling and hurting and all of these things, even if it's that is where their soul needs to be at this point, because sometimes we need to crash in order to rise. We know that in the 5D. We know that because we've been through it. So just be. That's the saying. That's what I have tattooed on my back. I tattooed it before I even knew what it meant. But I get it now, just be. Because everybody is doing what they need to be doing, and if they're not doing what they need to be doing, it's because this world is trying to tell them that they're not what they think they're supposed to be. And it might be that they're supposed to be playing the villain. That's just the way of it, So relax into what it is, relax into who you are, and flow with it. My light beauties, just flow. Be that chess queen. And that's what I have for you today. That was a pre-recording of just a little something I had to say. Hello, hi, Sahara. Just was putting out there a little idea of what the difference is, being in the 3D versus the 5D kind of thing. I will say just questioning it alone means that you're in a state of rising up. Hello, Isabella. Hi, how are you? How are you? I also do intuitive readings for relationships. If you will have a relationship that is kind of being stressful for you, one that is like what I just mentioned, where you feel like you're on a different side of the earth than this person. Sometimes you're just constantly trying to admit, or tell them you're right, why you're right, putting your I said this, I said that, no you didn't, and feeling like you're being gaslighted. They say the same thing, going through something like that. If you have any questions for me on a relationship like that, I've been through it all, and I truly can see things as from the higher perspective from the all. So if you do have any questions for me, a difficult relationship in your life, may it be a family member, friend, love relationship, I can help guide you. I'm not saying that I am like a psychic and I'm going to tell you what your world, what's going to happen in your life or something like that, or your future or something like that, but I am here to help you with relationships. Even if you tell me things about it, I'm not trying to say that I'm pulling like things out of the air and predicting it or something like that, which I can do, but I can know names and I can know things like that. I'm just here to help you see a perspective of the relationship. I'll help you understand what dimension that person is reflecting from and where you're standing from right now. I can tell by the way you communicate it to me, and also by the way they communicate with you. So if you have any questions about a relationship, I am free right now. Just go ahead and ask. I know everybody has a relationship in their life that is difficult right now, because we are all kind of operating from a different place, a different dimension or perspective. And so relationships right now aren't easy. And you don't know if you should leave or if you should stay. You don't know if this person truly loves you or not, or if it's just words. If you have any questions about something they've done to you, something you've done to them, I'm here for you. Just give a shout out to me, kind of like coaching you through this shift with relationships. And since most people left now,
hello?
I don't think I didn't announce that I was going to be doing that. This is kind of just out of the blue here. A lot of things that happen to people as they are in the 5D and rising up. It's not scheduled. It comes out of the blue. And those are usually the things that are the most, definitely like the most powerful. The things that aren't scheduled, that just pop up out of the blue. Synchronicities. Maybe the fact that you popped onto me is a synchronicity in your life. Maybe you have a relationship right now that you have a question about, and you went on YouTube to try to figure out relationships or and such, and figure out why things are happening to you the way they are in your life. Intuitive readings. I can do that for you. Let me know, and perhaps I will go off of this one now and create a new video, because that was just a recording of a simple relationship matter example that I can give you of somebody in 3D and you operating in 5D. Now, to give you kind of a summary of what I said. So you are living in the 5D, and you are dealing with people who are in the 3D, which is all around us. I mean, 5D is like a diamond in the rough. You are a diamond in the rough. You might not even know it yet, but you're a diamond in the rough. To know that is to rise up again another level, to another dimension. But the 5D is somebody that can see things from every single perspective. They're not just looking at it from it's either my way or it's your way. Usually it's somewhere in between. And you can pull yourself out of the situation and find that something in between, and find the purpose for your argument, even, and and what you're learning from it, and the strength that you find from it. But that relationship I was explaining was, just if say you're dating somebody, and you feel like they're running away from you because they're not communicating much, because they literally told you that they're not sure if they want to continue anymore. It seems like they're breaking up with you, and you say to them, is it that are you just running away with your tail between your legs right now? And the first thing that comes to your mind is it your ego? Because I wasn't being affectionate enough when I was around you. And you ask them that question, and right away the 3D person will feel attacked. That is to be in the 3D, is to feel attacked. It's that fight or flight. And instead of thinking, they're just asking me a question to try to figure out what the truth is and what's going on, they're going to immediately say, in their mind, they're going to think, you just told me I have a big ego. You just told me that I'm running away with the tail between my legs like I'm a wuss or something. That's the way they see it. But you're like, why are you getting mad at me? And they're telling you you're just insulting them. And you're thinking, no, I'm just simply trying to figure out what's going on. And even if you say nice things after that, all they can see is the perspective of the negative thing. And so I was saying, just keep on going with you, and you know your intentions are good. Don't let anybody else tell you they're not. And if they are refusing to see that all you're trying to do is communicate with them, and they're refusing to see the glass as half empty kind of thing, it's okay to not try to help or try to force the situation to be something it isn't. Just kind of be okay to float away. I don't know if it means float away forever, float away in that moment, but in that moment, you're never going to convince them otherwise. So that was just an example of a relationship, because I know it's hard flipping. It's hard rising up in a world that is very dense. And it's hard seeing being the higher dimensions, literally, when you're surrounded by no support. You're supporting yourself. If you're in the 5D, 100% you're supporting yourself now. You're not counting on support from anybody else anymore. And that's a hard place to be. That is a difficult place to be. You're not relying on anybody else's thoughts or feelings. You're relying on your own. And you know, now you're not going to allow anybody to manipulate your brain. Whether they're doing it on accident or doing it on purpose. That's what people in the 3D do. They manipulate your head. They manipulate their own brain. They don't even know they're doing it. And now you are the one who's rising up and able to see it for what it is. And you're feeling pulled down, because the second you say anything about yourself that's good, they don't want to hear it. They don't like people who are confident. That's another thing, is that setting aside this relationship thing that I just talked about, people in the 3D do not like to see people confident, because it's a competition, kind of world. It's a survival kind of world. I am, survival of the fittest kind of world. And so they are wanting to be the best and know the most, and there cannot be an in-between right and wrong. It's always got to be you're right and I'm wrong, or I'm right and you're wrong. There's never any in between, which is actually the reality of it. The reality of it is usually it's somewhere in between. There's information. There's things that both sides have done probably, that they're not proud of, and they don't want to see that. They want to, you do something you're not proud of, and what the 3D will do is put a mask over their face. They don't want to see, they don't want to look back and see what they did wrong. They will shut themselves out to it, and it will kind of, and say you're in the 4D. The 4D is a mirror. So they're reflecting what they are instead to you, instead of seeing it for themselves. And that's what you're doing to them a lot of times. Say you're in the 3D too, you're reflecting what you don't want to see about yourself. You're reflecting it back to them and saying that that's what they are. It's a complicated world in that 3D. And people think that that's the way to be and that's the easy way. But once you float above and you're in the 5D, you're seeing things for what they are. And you're seeing that you can make mistakes and it's okay. Like, you can make a mistake and you don't shame, blame, put yourself down. You can make a mistake and say, oh, shit, I made a mistake. I was wrong. And then you can say, oh, well, I don't want to be that way anymore. And you can change. And then boom, you change and you're a stronger person for it. And you can look back at your previous self and say, yeah, that's not somebody I would want to be anymore. And you don't be it, and you're apologetic for it, but you don't let it consume you. You don't let it say, you don't say, that is me. You can see that version of you is no longer you. And now you're the new you. And so that is kind of what they talk about when they talk about dimensions in psychology. That's living in the 5th dimension, is seeing things for what they are, being able to say I did something wrong, being able to apologize, move forward, and not taking along the lower dimensional words of shame, blame, guilt, and let downs, put downs, it's not a fun way to be, to look back at yourself and not be able to see your mistakes for what they were, and being, what's happening in my house right now is there's actually a 3D fight going on in my house right now. And so I'm not sure if I can even speak to you anymore, because, unless I go to a different room. But take with you what you will. Take with you any advice that you might have gotten from that. Or what I like to do is not give advice. I like to give somebody a perspective that's like theirs, and to show somebody that the way they're thinking is the same way somebody else over here is thinking, and they're right. And you're right, because rising up from the 5D, if you want to go above 5D, it's about understanding that that your reality, your perspective is what's right for you, and that you're not going to take along your past shame, blame, mistakes, guilt. You're going to learn from it and grow, and you're going to go beyond it. That's rising up from the 5D. But people are always fighting my reality. That's just the way it is, and passes that energy back to me because I'm very empathic. But light workers, you're put in these situations because you're the calming force among the chaos. And so don't let the chaos consume you and become something you're not, because you're here to be the strong one. And you're here, that's your responsibility as a 5D human being. It's more responsibility. You're responsible for creating your own reality. So the only way to help people to rise above is to show them, especially when they're in the 4D, it's like a mirror, to show them somebody who is above, somebody who acts above, somebody who can see everything for what it is. See every single perspective. Not feel guilt or shame or blame. Not send guilt or shame or blame. Those things are old. That's like shame, blame, guilt, anger. Anger sometimes will happen in the 5D, I'm not gonna lie. That's a tricky one. But these lower, like putting yourself down and putting others down, that's basically what it comes down to. That's the 1, 2, 3, 4D. And right now we're trying to shed that body and become lighter, because if you don't feel those things, those words, you feel lighter, and you could feel light amongst the chaos and be an example for others, instead of trying to help them directly and tell them, you know, they should do this, they should do that, blah 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 blah. It's showing an example. So I'm gonna go step out now and show an example. This is hilarious what's happening in the, do you hear? We're live right now. Do you want help?
Yeah, but that shit pisses me off.
We're live right now.
The shit fucking sucks.
With the 3D conversation
every time you have
fight
an
going on.
Now I'm mad.
And
every time you have an argument with your parents, and I try to help you and talk to you, and I say one wrong thing.
The egos are so big on both sides, they don't even care if I'm live right now. Isn't that crazy? But yeah, I don't really want this on my channel, so it's sorry that I'm gonna probably cut this out. Okay, goodbye, loves. I love you much. Hope you in life. Bye. Oh my god, you don't even care.